3, 2, 1.
Ah, yes. We have this land. We should rule over all this land and call it this land. I think we should call it yogurt. Yeah. Okay, no, we're not doing that. Greetings, viewers. Zach here again for another world building workshop where I go and I recap a previous World Building Wednesday live stream that we've done. Follow us on Twitch. Before we begin, I want to give a huge shout out, as usual, to our Ko-fi supporters like Alec, TJ, Rainweaver, and KJ, and all the other donators and supporters on our Ko-fi page for your amazing support for making shows like this and some of the other crazy content we got on that page even possible. So thank you all before we even begin. Now, what's the deal with this video? Well, this is a video where I take a map like this that's developed through our World Building Wednesdays live streams as a community, and I kind of try and wrap it up and make it make sense. First things first, gotta clear something up right away. I keep saying that it's the Cortex world building rule system, which is not technically accurate, although I use it as that. It's actually their Pathways rule system. I was corrected on that very recently, and I just kind of took the Pathways rules and took the character creator stuff out of it. So, now that I've got that cleared up, let's move on! Dinosaurs! Now, following a suggestion provided by Jurassic Spark on our Discord channel, thank you for that, by the way, this one gets a little bit crazy, so buckle up. This world lives for the hunt, a 13-year cycle where hunters go around gathering and hunting so that they can be glorious, and the most glorious of hunters will be offered to the gods to become avatars. No, not that avatar, copyright and all that stuff, a different kind of avatar. Avatars tend to have enhanced traits reflective of their hunts, either the quantity of the type of hunt that they had or the methodology they came to approaching their hunts with. It's kind of a random grab bag of traits that you can come out of the process with, so we'll get more into this later. Now, let's get some terms out of the way. Speaking of which, first things first, citizens. Citizens can be comprised of humans, dinos, or hybrids. Mine's out of the gutter, we'll explain more on that later. And they tend to be the general population of those that live in the city areas of the world at large. Most of the players will likely end up coming from this area, but that's not exactly tried and true. Citizens tend to also focus primarily on ritual-style magics. Again, more on this in the gameplay section near the end of the video. Next, we have avatars, which we kind of already briefly touched on. Avatars are either those that are created through the ritual process or the descendants of those that have come out the other side positively from the avatar process, tend to have enhanced traits based off of their kills, like enhanced strength for a series of T-Rex kills, or possibly even flight if a lot of their kills were pterodactyl in nature. This isn't a guarantee, but this tends to be the way of things when you were an avatar, or the offspring of an avatar. Avatars tend to primarily focus in elemental magic. Again, more on that end of the video. Pharaohs, again, like human, dinos, and hybrids, tend to be the individuals that live outside of the cities, and, most of them, as far as PCs are concerned, are civilized. This does also tend to include the more hunted variants, such as the T-Rexes, the Triceratops, like those actual monster-style dinosaurs that, for the monster hunter types out there. Pharaohs focus in the primal school of magic. Humans are, humans. Of the three classes, they are the most intelligent of the group. You may leave your opinions as you see fit, but in this world, they tend to be the more tool-based and intelligence-focused of the special options. Dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are highly varied, as, there's dozens of different species of dinosaurs, like even in our history, like Triceratops, pterodactyls, all that good stuff. There are tons of different kinds, including citizens that live in cities with humans and can speak and talk and own businesses and all that stuff. Think Dinotopia, if you will. And then you got your monstrous ones that are completely animalistic and are just entirely there for hunting and foraging outside of the cities that we live in. And then you've got your hybrids. Again, gutter. Hybrids are actually failed avatars, those that passed the rite of proving and were able to get on through to the avatar process, and instead of coming out as a superior souped-up version of a dinosaur or a human, they ended up being a hybrid version of both. Also, the descendants of hybrids will also be in themselves hybrids. While their entire race is frowned upon and looked down on as far as society is concerned, if you acquired your hybridness from an avatar positioning, you still get the benefits of being an avatar socially. If you were born into this, you do not. Cities. Cities host the vast majority of citizens, primarily speaking. Avatars as well tend to also focus in these areas, but this can be comprised of many humans, dinosaurs, and even hybrids. Cities like Hope's Landing tend to be where money, food, and marketing flourish, where you can actually buy and trade all sorts of goods and be relatively safe within the walls of the city. Cities like the Angelabo are the city of the Great Hunt. Think of it more like the Indigo Plateau of the Pokemon world, but here in this Dino world. This is where avatars who have won their respective hunts will go and actually make the offering to become a full avatar. That happens in the Angelabo. The wilds lend themselves to basically the majority of the play space of the game. This is where you'd actually go and leave the city and do a lot of investigating, find ancient ruins, and perform your actual hunts. But this place is fraught with unpurified resources, such as water, which makes healing inherently difficult. We'll get more into this in the gameplay aspects of the game, as that's tend to be more where that's focused. But where it affects the game narratively is this is the reasoning behind large, and I mean kaiju-sized flora and fauna. Fauna in this case being basically kaiju-sized dinosaurs. So we can get massive T-Rexes and huge deformed trees that just go on for kilometers in either direction, width and height. Here you'll find cities like Shantuth, which were actually built in the remains of either a giant kaiju or a fallen deity. Lastly, we have the Desolation Zone, which is named aptly after an event known as the Desolation, where a group of pharaohs known as the Drained laid a curse upon the hunt as a whole. In order to fulfill the curse, they stormed a once proud city with a bunch of kaiju and destroyed it and leveled the city. The city was rapidly taken over by the wilds and is now covered with all kinds of vines and trees and is now just home to the wilds at large. This curse effectively split the god of the hunt into two halves, a light half and a dark half. Now, we didn't explore this too much, as this was kind of intentionally left for GMs as to build for plot hooks, as to maybe create some kind of societal conspiracy, if you will, as to, the Dino Pope, if you will, is kind of working for the dark half versus the light half, or it's meant to be open-ended for the DM to come up with whatever they want for their plots. Gameplay options. Now, healing in this game, as I mentioned before, is meant to be inherently difficult. So either that means that make sure that healing abilities or items are very, very, very rare and hard to find, or that there is some kind of penalty for poor rolls. Obviously not killing the character, but making it at least somewhat more enticing to reach markets and trade for resources and things that can assist in these processes. Armor and weapons are entirely created through hunts. So bone weapons and armor, as well as skins from the actual hunts. The concept of using the entire hunt is not just the meat to sell later, but the skins for materials and bone, as previously mentioned. Metal does exist in the world, but it is highly rare, and only powerful elemental magic users can actually mold and shape it into the forms that they want. This is typically reserved for retired avatars or protectors of high-ranking officials, as the formerly mentioned Dino Pope, if you will. Another idea that was played with is that things that are found in hunts, like the bone, skin, and meat, should have some kind of an expiration date or something to kind of expedite the either use it or lose it concept through trades, through construction and crafting, or through consuming it, either eating it or using it as some kind of a spell resource. Magic. This game world did kind of start out as meant to be a fantasy-based world, so we've got magic. Now, we already talked about the terminology and the crossovers that occur between hybrids, humans, dinosaurs, citizens, pharaohs, and avatars, but this is where we're going to specify a little bit, just a bit, on the different specialized magics that the social classes provide. Citizens tend to focus on ritualistic magics. These are magics that are meant to take a long period of time and cannot or have great difficulty being cast in the moment, such as combat, but are often used for enhancing items and for the purification process of things like water or anything that you can use to heal you and your allies. Avatars specialize in elemental magic, with all the pomp and circumstance that comes from being an avatar and having won previous hunts or being the descendant of someone who has won previous hunts. You are trained in the use of elemental magic, which can be cast at a moment's notice. The big downside is that it consumes resources. You do actually need to have that kind of elemental resource in your disposal, and then that resource is gone shortly thereafter. Of course, as previously mentioned, elemental magic is the only magic that can be used to harness and master the use and creation of metal objects and resources. And lastly, ferals specialize in primal magic. This is your X-Men style abilities where ferals can actually extend their claws, harden their scales, and all kinds of abilities that tend to make extreme actual physical things that a person can do. And lastly, for gameplay options, there are 3 hunting styles. These will kind of determine, based on the DM and how you wish to create your world and amongst your game system, this will be how you gain your skills that you focus on when going into hunting, as most characters are probably going to be hunters to some degree. Now, the guilds are pretty simple. Firstly, we have Slings and Arrows Guild. The Slings and Arrows Guild is for you ranged archetype fighters. Next, you got the Berserkers Guild. This is for your more martial classes. And then you got the Crafters Guild. These are for your tactician-style combatants for setting traps and things like that. With that, I think we got this one all wrapped up. Now, if I was to name this without, doing the whole copyright thing, let's go with the Gilded Hunt. Eh? I think it kind of ties everything together. Sound off in the comment section down below if there's any ideas or considerations you want us to add in there when talking about world building or these recaps. We'll get right on it. As well, if you want to support the gang here at Twisted Gear Studios, you can go to our website and find our merch shop where there's t-shirts, mugs, and sweaters. Oh my. Ko-fi page where you can toss us a coffee or have access to limited item drops in case you want a little something to go with that little donation of yours, like a sticker or a keychain. So that's always an option as well. Tons of ways for you to be able to help the show and all of the other things that we do here at Twisted Gear Studios. No stream this Wednesday coming up as I got an appointment, but next Monday we'll be back with last Wednesday's stream recap, and then after that we'll be back to every Wednesday and every Monday. The Monday we'll have the video for the previous Wednesday. It's all gonna line up perfectly. It's almost like I planned it. Almost. I wish I could have taken credit for that. Alright, if you'll excuse me, I have a lot of coffee to drink and a lot of games to play, so enjoy the world.